Welcome to Mimika TV. I'm your host, Mimika Cooney. I'm honored to be with you on this journey towards empowering you to succeed in faith, leadership, and business. Hi, it's Mimika Cooney. I wanted to pop in our group today just for our mentor moment. Now, I've been receiving quite a few emails of people who wanting to join this group, which is yay, fabulous. And what I found was a common theme or a struggle that I'm finding that a lot of us, especially women, are having today. And that is really trying to understand what our calling and our purpose is. Now, many of us probably have gone through this now. I know I'm giving away my age here. I'm in my 40s, but it's like this midlife crisis where you start to figure out, I've done all these things in my 20s and in my 30s, and now I'm kind of getting to that stage, like, am I doing what God's calling me to be? And sometimes we can, be pursuing things, but maybe in the wrong way, or maybe we've started a new season in our life. So I wanted to offer some encouragement for you today. And this is a kind of a process I take my coaching clients through. Like I've worked in the business and branding industry for years. And this is something I find no matter whether it's a business person or in a personal, if there's a personal issue, it does start to trickle through in business. And often it comes down to this thing called clarity. Now, once you have clarity of purpose and clarity of calling, you know what steps to take. So if you're asking yourself, I don't know what I should be doing. Should I go here? Should I take that job? Should I write this book? Should I start this business? That's not the right questions to ask. Often we need to know what the reason and really digging a bit deeper into our calling and our purpose. So here's some tips. And this is something I personally did for myself. It's like, when you take a step back, because when you're involved in what you're doing right now, you can't see the wood for the trees, right? You're so close and you're so personally, you can't really see from an outsider's perspective. So sometimes taking a bird's eye view of where you're at now and where you want to be. And sometimes it's a matter of writing it down on a piece of paper, like using Post-its, if that's an easy thing for you. What do I feel like this desire of what God is calling right now? And this is often based on situations, like maybe your kids have now left home and have graduated into college and you are an empty nester, or maybe now your preschool kids are now in kindergarten in school and you have this time during the day that you never had before. Calling, I think, is an organic thing. It's not something that's going to be announced to you one day and that's the one and only thing you're meant to do. The society has changed a lot in the last 100 years, where before it was like, go to school, pick a career, and you're in that career for the rest of your life. Nowadays, it's more like people stay in a career between 4 and 7 years, and then they can do a shift, whether it's shifting their roles or maybe even totally changing industry. And not to say you have to be working for this to be applicable. Even moms, like I've got 3 kids. And in every season in my life, one's in elementary, one's in high school, and one's in college. And throughout the process, it was fluid. I realized that my calling and my purpose was very fluid as to where I was. And some of the tips that I would advise is like, just write down where you are right now and maybe what the frustrations are. What are those sort of top 3 to 5 frustrations that you feel you're not either being yourself or you feel you're restricted by? Now, the first thing people usually say, I don't have enough time and I don't have enough money. Now, that is not really the real reason. That is what I would call an excuse, because if everybody can make time for things that are really important to us, like, I'm not a fan of like going out and running and, sweating and getting really exercise on running on the track or on the road. That's not my thing. But I love to do things. My personal thing to enjoy exercise is figure skating, but I have to make time for that. And again, it's, you don't force yourself into doing something that you feel like is not necessarily you. So those would be my first step, is find the frustration, because often the frustration can lead to maybe you doing something you shouldn't, which isn't a bad thing. And, this is life's a bunch of experiments, not failures. There's no such thing. Edison, in his pursuit of discovering and finding a light bulb, had 1,000 experiments. He says, I figured out 1,000 ways how a light bulb doesn't work. So just think of it that way. And then another tip I would say is, if you're trying to figure out what your calling is, what are those sort of heart's desires that have been calling to you from when you were a kid? Like, what were you like when you were 5 years old? What were the things you loved? Did you like to write? Did you love to talk? Did you love to sing and dance? Did you love to quiet time? Every tiny little thing. Because when we're 5, we are unadulterated, unfiltered. We don't care what the world thinks of us. We just are who we are. And then we start to get a little older and start wondering about altering our behavior based on what we think the world thinks we should be like. So go back to think about how you were as a child. And maybe there are some sort of things that will pop up to you into your mind's eye and make you think, I really enjoyed that as a child. Maybe I need to follow that line. And of course, the third tip would be figure out where you want to be. Like if you have this deep desire, and I had this situation myself where I felt like I wanted to do something else, but I was stuck in a situation by my own doing because I was so worried about making sure I fit in and did what others expected of me as opposed to what I really felt like. And eventually I felt physically frustrated and sick to the stomach where if I had to do this one more day, I would scream. That's another example of a really good indication of how God works, because God isn't pushy. He's a gentleman. He's going to wait for your permission. He's going to wait for your invitation. And when you say, Lord, I don't know what to do with this situation or my life anymore, and your act of complete surrender is freedom. Surrendering to God isn't putting yourself in a box and saying, I'm never going to get to choose my way again. What it is, it opens the door to God allowing you to see what he wants you to see and providing you the guidance. Because I don't know about you, but I could do with all the help I can get in running my life because I realize I am not equipped to run it myself. I need God because he knows me better than I know myself. He knows the future better than I do, and he really can guide you. So if this is something that's really you struggled with and you couldn't really figure it out for yourself, do these exercises. And another thing is, like, if you don't know what your style or if you've lost your own identity is, go on Pinterest and start pinning things that you love. Like when I was redesigning, did a brand makeover in my business, I really couldn't understand or really figure out what the style or the voice should be. And then I started going on Pinterest and started figuring out, I was pinning like food that I like to make, clothes that I like to buy, places I like to visit, the styling of my inside of my home, how my dream home would look like. And I started to see a theme, things like blues and whites and clean lines and, Mediterranean feel, because I'm half Greek. That kind of came through and realized, I wasn't using that part of my brand story and also my background. So there's a lot you can learn by just observing things from the outside and just looking at the little breadcrumbs, because you leave breadcrumbs along wherever you go in the way that you speak and the way you encourage others. And even if it means, you are an encourager, if you love to phone your friend up and say, hey, how's it going today? And just, keeping her positive, that is a calling too. And lastly, I want to let you know that, and encourage you that there is no such thing as a small calling. You don't have to be on the world stage. You don't have to have a big platform. Your calling right now could be mom to your kids, could be wife to your husband. It could be just doing what God's designed for you to do right now. And even though the world might not see it, believe me, and I'll encourage you that God sees every little thing, that no matter what you're doing right now, it doesn't mean it's going to stay the same forever, but just embrace where God's put you and be grateful for what he's given you. Because I know this is the thing, we get so worried and concerned about what we don't have, we forget to really count our blessings. So I'm going to say, I really appreciate you being part of our community. And if this has resonated with you today, I'd love to hear your comments. Just pop in below the video and add your comments. Hey, Tam, that's my sister all the way from England who's joined us today. So we love to keep the conversation going. If you have found that your calling and your purpose is something that you haven't really defined yet, use these tips and hopefully you'll be able to get one step closer. So again, thanks for everyone for joining me. Until next time, bye. Are you ready to build a platform with a purpose? Come to mimikacooney.com and download your free checklist, How to Build Your Platform in 30 Days.